Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside Procurement, our video series where we speak to the procurement leaders of today about the issues that matter most. We're back with the fifth and final video in the series with Paul Coppens. Paul has had a long and storied career with J&J, Johnson & Johnson, and has now launched his own firm, 4PX Consulting. Over the course of the last several videos, we've touched on a range of topics from procurement trends and how it's evolved over the last year and into this year and where it's going. We've talked about category management. We've talked about risk. And in the last video, we talked about supplier engagement. In this fifth and final video, we'll be talking about another topic that is very prominent in the conversations that practitioners are having today, and that is this topic of supplier-enabled innovation. So, Paul, welcome back.
Happy to be here, Omer.
To kick off our conversation, as we talk about innovation, what are some areas, you've had a long career in procurement, what are some areas where suppliers have delivered material value to you in terms of real innovation that you've seen? What are some examples where you've seen that impact?
Yeah, a very nice example happened actually very early on in my career. We didn't call things innovation 25 years ago, but if you think of it now, that's what it really was. The topic was for one of our veterinarian products, where we needed a sort of easy to use in the field dosing device. So the farmer is walking in the meadows, sees a cow, needs to pour product on the back of the cow, but dependent on the weight of the cow, the dose needed to be different. So the challenge was there. We needed a flexible bottle of high enough volume with an easy to switch dosing device. So we went to two suppliers with this question, one bottle supplier and then a supplier specialized in dosing devices. Long story short, after a couple of weeks, we got this very nice combination of bottle and dosing device and that suppliers worked on collaboratively to really have a good fit of the dosing device on the bottle because we couldn't permit ourselves any leaks. And on top of that, the dosing device was even overdose proof. So very nice example. Why were we successful, in my opinion? We did not give any sort of solution that we may have had in the back of our heads. We just gave them a high-level brief of this is what we need. And I think for any sort of innovation, that is critical. Don't give the suppliers the solution. They will give you the solution. In the end, they're the experts in this field.
Yeah.
Another example is a more recent one. For one of our major product lines, we wanted to upgrade our overall global platform to more standardized building blocks in using the chemicals we use. At the time, we wanted to reduce cost, improve product performance, stay compliant with the internal and external ingredient expectations, and harmonize these building blocks across many products. We had a very short timeline, so we reduced the burden of our internal R&D resources by leveraging supplier technology, support, and innovation. An upgraded platform was set up in co-development with one of our major suppliers, becoming the basis for over 60 marketed products. And all the other goals that we had set forward were reached as well. So again, a very nice example how things can be done properly.
I guess the core takeaway is the supplier knows their business.
Exactly.
They know their business better than you, the customer, or we, the customer, would know their business. So let's rely on them to give us that insight and give them the flexibility to be able to come up with and deliver that insight based on what they know best. Of course, the big question is, how do you incent a supplier to want to bring innovation to you? How do you incent them so that they do keep bringing innovation ideas to you and your company? How do you think about that?
I think there's different ways in creating that appetite for suppliers and to bring that innovation to me first and not to the others.
Yeah.
And I can think of three main incentives. It's on the one hand side legal, then commercial, and then really the risk and value sharing incentives. Now, on the legal part, to be sure, you could offer exclusivity to the supplier to license certain rights for a fixed amount of time, where we as a customer will do the same towards suppliers. So protecting the IP in a sense. Secondly, on the commercial part, you could think of an agreement where you would offer the supplier the use of your own resources and infrastructure, such as tech guidance, lab use, and other assets for developing and testing the products we need. Focus is here really on leveraging the resources and avoid duplication of efforts. It will result in a very close relationship with the supplier. You could also set up a sort of innovation fund to finance the work to be done. The supplier and me as a company, we can set aside some money that we mutually agree upon, and we also define together what exactly is it that we're going to work on. It could help suppliers to work on projects that are usually out of scope for them even. And then last but not least, it's really the risk and value sharing part. An arrangement where you could contribute intangible but substantial value to the supplier to aid on an innovation project. Again, this technological guidance, training, access to relevant vendor databases, or introduction to key vendors. These are difficult to value, but intangible in nature. They provide a platform for an opportunity to progress from a transactional-based relationship to true partnership, in my opinion. The other way is a joint development model. Parties agree on jointly developing a product, a technology, or some form of IP that you want to commercialize. The model allows for healthy collaboration between ourselves and the suppliers by sharing the cost and each party concentrating really on own core competency. And then there's the profit sharing model, is a type of risk sharing model between you, the vendor, and the company, who come together as partners. And it's usually based on a predetermined formula of sharing gains or losses. It's a bit the same as the part in the mutual gains in the supplier engagement that we talked about. Mm. The essence of the model is really profit and risk sharing with the supplier we're working with to develop and make sure we commercialize together.
Yeah,
those are, in my opinion, the most important ones.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I guess if there's one takeaway from that, it's that you have to make the idea of mutual value very tangible. And that it is a true partnership and there is true sharing. And that sharing can be in multiple different ways. It's not simply financial, but there's capability, knowledge, all other aspects that flow into that as well. So how do you sort of think about, if you were to speak to a procurement leader today who wants to maximize the opportunity from supplier-enabled innovation, what are 2 or 3 key lessons that you would tell them?
Yeah, I think as a procurement professional, I may be in the driver's seat of it all. But important to realize is procurement cannot do it alone as a function. Again, you will need to have that full engagement of R&D, supply chain, quality, engineering, you name it. So depending on what you're looking for, you need to ensure to have that alignment across all these relevant functions. But at your end and at the supplier end. If not, it won't work. It's a collaborative effort, so don't keep it in procurement. Don't work in silos, because you will fail. Yeah. Second one, Omer, would be it's critical to provide, again, the supplier a good brief of what you're looking for, but without providing them the direction to any solution, as we already talked about. And then last but not least, create a visibility within your company and ensure top management is supporting innovation all the way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that point around giving them flexibility, giving them leeway to do what they do best is so important. It's so important. One last question for you. How do you suggests that we think about monitoring and measuring the success of an SEI program? What are a couple of the things that you would say are most critical to consider?
Yeah, indeed. What you don't measure, you don't know how well it's going. So one of the things that we certainly did was supplier innovation is fully part of the supplier scorecard. And that's where it's housed best. You measure those suppliers bringing innovation. They're your top tier suppliers. Let's not forget. How do you want to make them better? Well, if they don't bring an innovative idea every year, for example, they're slowing down. That's not what we want from our key partners. So you can start by setting a goal for a specific area in terms of the number of innovations you want to engage on with your key suppliers. It will be important to define upfront what is going to be considered innovation and what is not. That's what I've seen happen in the past. At some point, everything fell under the umbrella of innovation. Be careful with that. You need to think, is the innovation a truly breakthrough idea? Maybe it can be expanded to other categories that are out there. Or is the innovation creating any additional growth for my company and other value creation? That's critical. Another measure that we could consider is to set a goal for the revenue we create as a result of the innovation brought by our partner. Revenue that otherwise would not have been there. In general, this is a nice measure, and it will show other functional areas such as supply chain, what the value of innovation truly can bring. Now, all of the above are really internal measures, but you can make it external as well. As I mentioned, put it on the supplier scorecard, and it is a clear path for the supplier to grow with us as a company, to make sure they become better and better every year. It's the strength of the supplier scorecard. I would say it's the dashboard between suppliers and your company, to have that clear pathway to become better and better. And that's why it's critical to make a scorecard. I wouldn't call it supplier scorecard. Let's call it partner scorecard, because we should measure in two ways. We should also give opportunities to suppliers to measure ourselves as a company.
Yeah, two-way scorecards, mutual value.
Absolutely.
Themes that have come up multiple times, time and again, in this series of videos that we've done.
Absolutely.
Well, Paul, I think that's fantastic. These are great practical tips, practical advice that you have to offer. So thanks so much, Paul, for coming with us on this journey and sharing your perspectives on this host of different topics that we've gone through. And thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
No, I was very happy to be part of this, Omer. Thanks for providing me with the opportunity. I'm very happy we did this, and I'm looking forward to whatever may be next. But I enjoyed this, truly. Thank you.
Fantastic. And we look forward to hearing more about 4PX Consulting as we go forward.